Hi, everyone. It's Marion Owen in Kodiak, Alaska. And thank you so much for being at this live stream, which is all about how to use these micro or mini soil cubers. Or blockers, I should say. So let's dive in. And I'm going to show you a few slides. And if I can figure this out, I will put the chat up. So let's see how. Okay. All right. All right. So let's get started. And first, I want to start out with kind of the overall picture here. So these mini soil cubers is something. I'm not into fancy tools. I'm not into gadgets. I'll just be totally upfront with you. But this is one of the gadgets for me that I have used for 30 years. And for me, it's just a godsend for me. And I want to talk about some of the pros that benefits, I should say, of soil cubers. First of all, it reduces transplant shock. And that's really critical because when it comes to transplanting your seedlings from one size of anything, wherever you start your seeds, to the next size container, um, seedlings grown in soil blocks can go directly in the ground or they can go into the next size pot or six pack without disturbing the roots. And we'll talk about that in a second. It reduces that whole stress and shock of going from one point to the other, different kinds of soil, and it really increases the survival rate of your seedlings. Number two is better root development. Now, soil blocks allow for better air and water circulation, and that encourages root growth and overall development. So you get stronger and healthier plants. Number three, it's cost effective because you don't have to buy plastic containers and other seedling trays. And I'll show you what I use. And that saves money over time. Environmentally friendly. Now, by eliminating the need for plastic containers or as many, soil blockers reduce plastic waste, which is much more sustainable option for gardeners to start seeds. It's a fact. Nearly everybody in the world now has microplastics in our blood. It's unfortunate, but we can do our part. Finally, number five, soil blockers are fun to use. I mean, it brings out the child in me, and they're easy to use, really, really easy. And they require just like minimal maintenance. Now, one thing I want to talk about is there's a lot of seed starting mixes out there, and you can also call them germination media. Most of them that you buy, because we're talking about what you're going to pack into your cuber, most of them that you purchase are vermiculite based, but you can also make your own. And here's three of my favorite do-it-yourself options. Number one, you can use vermiculite. You want to get the medium grade, not the real fine stuff, because it just creates a lot of vermiculite kind of in the air, and you don't need that. Vermiculite, by the way, is a moisture holding medium, and that's why it works so well for germinating seeds. Number two is equal parts of vermiculite and milled sphagnum moss. Number three is equal parts of vermiculite, sphagnum moss, and perlite. Now, perlite comes in different sizes as well, so you want to get your finer grain, not the big size that's kind of like bigger than maybe a popcorn. Okay. So there you have it. That's what we're going to use. And we're going to talk about how to actually work with your cuber. So you take whatever soil seeding medium or germination mix that you have, and you put it in a bowl, and you just add enough water so it's kind of like the consistency of cooked oatmeal, if you will, like mush, some people would call it, or muesli, hot muesli. And then what you're going to do next is here. Let me get this right here. So that's kind of the top view, by the way. And then what you're going to do is go into your kitchen and find your favorite big spoon. And you basically scoop out some of that very damp seed starting mix or germination mix. And by the way, when you add your water, let it just sit for a few minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes, so it can absorb the water. And you want it not sopping wet, but it has to be damp enough so when you pack into the soil cuber, it'll stay in there. You don't want dried bits like making muffins or biscuits where it's okay to have dried material, right? And then what you do, this is what it looks like when it's all packed in. Just smear it around and pack it in all the corners, right? And then it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm gonna show you here. Um, once you once you pack it all with the soil, right? Then you're going to turn it upside down, right side up, I guess, like this, and the soil does not fall out, okay? And then you're going to take whatever container you're using. And what I do is these are just leftover tops to those vegetable, um, what do you call it? You buy little fancy green vegetable salad greens in these tubs. And then you just put it on top like this, right? And you just push down and lift up. And then what you have left are 20 little 3/4 inch blocks, and they look like this. Okay. So blocks like this. And then this is where kind of the fun magic part comes in, is to actually put the seeds in these or on these. And this is a trick that I learned years ago. And the reason why I love these mini soil cubers or micro soil blockers so much is because I don't know about you, but it's really hard for me to finagle, move around, pick up just one little seed. So what I do here is I take a pencil, just a basic number 2 pencil, and I touch it on the moist or damp soil that you just created with your soil blocks just to get the tip damp, right? And then what I do is I take that damp tip and you can pick up one seed. Like here's one broccoli seed or one tomato seed. It's a beautiful thing. Let me tell you what. And then you just kind of go back and you roll that same little pencil tip just to dislodge the seed. And you just go back and forth doing this. Okay. And then what you do is you want to sprinkle a little bit of soil on top. It doesn't take much, and be aware that some seeds do not want to be covered. So read your seed packet. The other thing you want to do is make sure you see those blue pieces of tape down below. You want to make sure that you label each one. And what I found is I just use blue painter's tape or something like that, or and I just use a Sharpie and I just mark what I sowed and the date I sowed it. Okay. And then in a few short days, this is what you'll get. These seeds will start to germinate, and you can see these are not quite the true leaves yet. These are the seedling leaves. So some of these might look the same, but they're all different. The ones that look the same, that look like little hearts, those are probably from the cabbage family. So you might be looking at kale and broccoli and cauliflower. And it isn't until they get the second set of leaves, the true leaves, that you know who they are, so to speak. All right. And then in due time, it'll be time to transplant them up to the next size container. Okay. And when you're doing this, let me just hide this guy. So there's a couple of clues for when it's time to transplant to the next size container. And your plants will tell you it's when they develop that second set of leaves. And that's what you want. It's not the first set, it's the second set, the true leaves. And that's when you want to transplant them to the next set. Okay. So I want to talk about the cuber itself because um, it's Ladbroke. And in a minute, I'm going to show you a list of resources if I remember to put them here. And so you can see there's a variety of sizes that you can use. The one on the right is what we're talking about, and that's the one that creates 20 3/4 inch cubes at a time. The one in the middle is a blocker that creates, I believe they're 2-inch blocks. And this is what's really handy to use for your larger seeds. It might be your peas, your beans, nasturtiums, that kind of thing. Because the micro or the mini soil blocker is really, it comes to its own when you're using it for tiny, small seeds. And then the one on the left, of course, a much larger blocker. This creates 4-inch cubes of soil. So when you think about it, when you have seeds that are going from a small, uh, maybe you got a tray and you're just spreading all kinds of seeds there and you're pricking them out, you might put them in a 4-inch block, and that whole thing will go into the garden when you transplant them. So it's just a way of looking at different ways to use these cubers. They last a long time. Um, so this is what the 2-inch cuber looks like, the Ladbroke cuber. They're made in the UK and they're fabulous. And you can get them so they create the little holes in the center. And then I wanted to show you, here is the resource list for a variety of places where you can buy these. When I started using a soil blocker 30 odd years ago, it was very difficult to find them. There was only one source in the United States, and let alone getting it up to Alaska where I live. Johnny's Selected Seeds, Fedco Seeds, which is a really fun, fabulous catalog, by the way, Territorial Seeds in Oregon, Soil Blockers in the UK, and then West Coast Seeds. So these are some sources for these, probably Amazon as well. Okay. And then finally, if you like what you see here, I have a Seed Starting Secrets course. If you would like to get more information, go to gardenerscoach.com and check it out right there, gardenerscoach.com. So thank you very much for joining me today. And if you have any questions, feel free to send them through gardenerscoach.com or through my YouTube channel at Gardeners Coach, The Gardeners Coach. So take good care. Thanks very much. And we'll see you around. Cheers.